Your AI videos look fake. And it's not just the model's fault. It's these 5 mistakes that set apart the pros from the average Joes. And once you see them, you cannot unsee them. AI video models today are good enough to make entire movies. But most creators are stuck using AI like a slot machine. And I've been saying this for a long time, but bad input equals bad output. It's as simple as that. So that's why in today's video we will cover 5 of the most common mistakes people make when it comes to making AI videos, and I will show you how to fix them. Make sure to watch the entire video because even if you're an expert, I'm sure you will find something that will be useful to you. I will also lay out all the assets, all the prompt files, all the information you need in the School community. So if you want to go through this at your own pace, then check out the links in the description. This video was sponsored by Higgsfield and we will be using them throughout this video because we're using various different models. If you want to try them out yourself, I will leave a link in the description. Okay, let's start with mistake number 1. You started prompting before you started thinking. Let that sink in. Because that's what a lot of people are doing right now. They just type something in, they have no idea what they actually want to see, they just say something completely random, then they run out of credits, and then they start complaining online about how expensive AI is. I mean, I get it about how expensive it can be, but if you're prompting incorrectly, then it's just a massive waste of money. Before you write a single prompt, you should have 2 things. First, your concept, and second, your storyboard. I will show you how to make that in a second, but first, let me give you an example of what a bad prompt is. This is what I call a bad prompt that a slot machine type of user generates. So it's just without any thinking. It's just like, oh, let me do a prompt about a teenager in a neon windbreaker skateboarding past a retro arcade at sunset. You might think it's good enough, but then you get something like this. At first glance, this might look like a good video, although it's still very boring. And that's because we have let AI do all of the guessing work, because we didn't quite know what we wanted to make. We didn't quite know what kind of camera angle, we didn't quite know what type of specific action, we didn't quite know what the surroundings should look like. So the AI is making all of that up itself. And if that's how you prompt, that's fine, but it will cost you a lot of credits. The better way to prompt is using a concept. And for that, I got this worksheet for you that you can copy, you can take a screenshot, or you can find it in this free School community. So I'm using this worksheet quite a lot. It is about adding in a subject. Who exactly is the main focus? In this case, we're going with a teenager in a bright neon jacket and vintage sneakers. Then the action. What exactly are they doing? So here they're describing that he's skateboarding past an old 80s mall. Then the environment. What is spatial in the background? Like what can we see? So we're going with 1980s Sunset Street with parked cars. Then the style. What is the lighting, the mood, or the visual tone? This is a extreme close-up, a tracking shot, handheld camcorder, fisheye lens, golden hour lighting. This also goes in terms of like the camera style. So lastly, this is optional, but you can do the audio. For example, with Cdance, it natively generates audio with that. So I want to give it a few instructions of what I want it to sound like. So I'm going with skateboard wheels on the pavement, very detailed. Now, if we combine all of our sentences, we have a prompt. We have put a bit more thought and effort. It basically comes down to putting an effort into writing something. So then you get something like this. So this already looks a lot better. We have a clear visual understanding of what we want to see, and we have a bit more of a structure and a concept. So that prompt generated us one shot. But what if you want to generate an entire scene? That's where storyboarding comes in. So this next method, storyboarding, helps you to develop your concept. For example, I've created this character using Soul Cinema. Looks quite cool, right? We're rocking the 80s vibes right here. Then I created a character sheet using GPT GPT Image 2 that we're gonna use as a reference. So now the next step is to use AI to get a better understanding of what type of concept we wanna make. What I did is I went over to Claude, I uploaded the character sheet, then I also uploaded this MD file that I specifically made for you guys that you can use and just copy into your text. You don't have to use this as a skill. You can just copy it right here as a file that you add into your chat. It's designed to be as easy as possible. What it does is you can literally enter in your ideas. So I said, create a scene where this guy enters a 80s arcade on a skate park by jumping through the window. He does a 3-point landing, then says something cool. Make it feel like an action movie entrance. So now it is gonna make a 6-panel storyboard for us. It's basically describing like everything that we want to have happen. And now we can take this prompt. So you can copy this entire prompt and put this into GPT Image 2. So now I'm going over to GPT Image 2. I've uploaded this entire prompt in there. Then I've also added in the character reference sheet again. And then make sure you put this on high and then you generate your image. This gets you a sketch like this. So now it has visualized a bit of our storyboard. It has visualized our concept. It has made the concept look cool and it made it into a reference that we can use. You can do this for all of the different scenes that you have to create like a short movie. This is also the best way to save credits because this way you visualize first, you basically storyboard first. And once you have everything in images, you can then start generating. That is how the pros are doing it, where they visualize their concept first. That's how you get the result that you want to see. And that's how you're more in control. What you can then do is you can literally ask Claude to help you convert this 6-panel storyboard into a 15-second Seedance 2.0 timeline prompt. I will explain more about different prompt structures later, but here we're asking it to provide time codes and 1 action per shot, character and style block at the top. So then it gave us this prompt. Of course, you always want to go through it and make sure it's correct and to your liking. Then you can put this together with your references in Seedance 2 or in Cinema Studio 3.5. So here we have the prompt, you add in the 2 references, and then you can hit generate. That will get you something like this.
Game over.
The second mistake most beginners make is using the copy and paste trap. And by that, I mean literally copy and pasting from ChatGPT or Claude. But I want to give you a few more things to consider before you actually start up straight up copying from like Claude or ChatGPT. A lot of these AI tools can handle more context. And most people think the more context, the better, which is right in some kind of case. But you don't want to overwhelm it with a bunch of unnecessary context. So you gotta be careful about the context that you put in. And oftentimes when you prompt something like this in ChatGPT, where you ask it to write you a highly descriptive 15-second action movie prompt for heavy-duty foam headphones, you will get a large sum of text. It's giving you a lot of words you wouldn't use yourself. It is adding in unnecessary detail. It is making unoriginal ideas. And that's why I want to explain to you that you should not blindly trust these LLMs to make the best prompt for you. You should still use it as a tool, and it's only as good as the input that you give it. So for example, if I put this massive prompt into an AI video model, I will get this result. If we then compare the output together with the prompt, then we notice that the AI has skipped a lot of actions we asked for, like the boat, the helicopter, and the too many details confused the AI. Like the headphones are changing in every single shot. Just because the prompt is long doesn't mean the prompt is actually useful. There's a better way to do this. So here's how I would do it instead. And I'm not banning LLMs completely, not at all. The main differentiator that I would give you is make sure also when you're writing your prompt, you give it an image reference. So here again, I'm using the image reference. So we at least give the AI a reference that it can hold on to, that we know it needs to keep that consistent. And then I'm using a prompting structure or a format. More on that later, but for example, this is the format that we used in the beginning at the first mistakes, which is the subject plus the action plus the environment plus the style plus the audio, and then we have our finished results. So I actually did the thinking myself here. Now, don't worry if you have no idea still how to prompt in that format, I will teach you in a second. That brings us to mistake number 3. The pros don't write prompts, they use systems. This is the single and most biggest time saver that I've come across when generating any type of video that I do. I tend to use 4 different systems and I will share all of them with you. So in terms of systems, I'm also talking about structures, prompt formats. That's what I mean by systems. And not having to write prompts from scratch every time. The first structure is the simple structure. This is one that I use quite often. It is style plus action plus camera. To give you an example of how I do this, I first use a character sheet. So that's the first step that I use when I have a character that I want to put into a video. Then I prompt it as followed. So I start with the style, which is gonna be gritty 35mm film. Then the action. This goes kind of like hand in hand with the subject. So I have a man in a leather jacket and the action is that he's walking through a rain-soaked alley. Then for the camera, I'm asking for a slow tracking shot from behind. Super simple prompt. It's just like 3 or maybe 4 if we count subject, different elements that go into it. If we hit generate, you will get a result like this one. So use this for short single action scenes. It's fast to write and easy to generate. The second structure, I call that the C-dance structure. This is one of my favorites because I use C-dance quite a lot and it's very easy to review and reiterate change. For this, we're using subject plus action plus environment plus style plus audio. I built this based on the official C-dance documentation. And that is the tip that I want to give you. Each tool, regardless of when you're watching this, there might already have been a new tool being released that is better than C-dance currently is, but each tool has their own like guidelines and documentation. You can go and review those documentations. You can literally put them into ChatGPT or Claude and you can have it spit out some kind of like directions, instructions that you can use for each and every generation. That's how easy it is. Either way, the C-dance structure works generally well across multiple different AI video generators that have audio natively integrated into them. So for the subject, again, who or what is in the shot. Then for the action, what exactly are they doing? We can do with one action only. Then for the environment, where is the scene? And here you want to be specific. Then for the style, this is, I would say, the hardest part where you really need to do some thinking. You can ask any type of LLM to help you with it, but you can go from the camera shot type, lens, camera movement, then the visual tone. You can skip any vague words like cinematic. You need to use specific references. Like for example, you can point out on which camera you want it to be shot on. For example, an Ari Alexa, or you can do specific colors. Like let's do a Blade Runner 2049 color grade. The AI responds well to that because it has visual references to it. It has understanding of what the image looks like from that. It has references of what the color from that looks like. So being specific there matters. And I know it takes out the guesswork by doing this, and it may be not as fun because you're not having a gamble if your video is going to be good or bad. But doing it this way will save you credits, and it will also allow you to think more seriously about what you actually want to create. Because you need to think about this. Each time you hit that generate button, essentially you're spending money. And when I'm spending money, I'd like to be not reckless with it. Like maybe in some cases, but the majority of the time I want to know what I'm doing and I want to be in control. And that's what I'm trying to teach you here. For this style, I've built this structure that you can use. So this C-dance structure helps you come up with these prompts. And to give you an example, I started off with a short prompt. So I did like gritty 35mm man in leather jacket walks through a rain-soaked alley, slow tracking shots from behind. It told me like, hey, good start, but not good enough. Who is this guy? Can you give more details? Can you do this, that? So then I gave it a bit more details. Then I really thought about like, what do I actually want to see? What do I want to have happen? And all of that. So now it identified that the subject is clear, the action is clean, but the environment is a bit too vague. Like with C-dance, you can use more. So then it asks us a few questions about that. What is the world looking like that he's walking through? I still like sometimes refuse to think about it for quite a bit. So I just say something really standard. Then it will tell me like, hey, we need a bit more context. So it's a bit of fighting between you and the LLM to give it the context that it wants. And then it says like, okay, now we finally got it. Here is your prompt. Again, this is different than how how you use the bad example from the LLM where you just simply copy and paste it. This is you going back and forth, and the LLM is kind of like your advisor, your strategic advisor that helps you come up with a good concept that you've thought about yourself. It just asks the right questions. So if you put that example prompt into the Cinema Studio, then we get something like this. Again, this is not a hard example, but it does follow up with the type of world that we're building, the location, the character, and all of that. The next structure that I use quite a lot is timeline prompting, and you can make this as simple or as complex as you want to. What timeline prompting essentially is basically giving the AI a structure of what happens at each second or at each moment. So for example, you can do so per second or per 2 or per 3 seconds. You're basically describing what you want to see during that segment. For example, with most AI tools nowadays, you can generate up to 15 seconds. In the future, that will definitely be longer, but that allows us to be more specific what we want to see during each second of our video. So for example, you can have the first 3 seconds where you have a wide shot of an alley entrance. Then you have the 3rd to the 8th seconds where a man is walking into the frame. Then from the 8th to the 12th second, we have a close-up on his face as he stops. And then from the 12th to the 15th seconds, he looks over his shoulder. This is really simple. I tend to use more complex prompts where I also include things like the action, the style, and all of that. But this is just to explain you what this structure does. Now, the last structure that I want to share with you, which I don't use that often anymore, but still is being used by some people quite a lot, which is called JSON prompting. This is, I would say, the more technical version of timeline prompting. I think I prefer timeline prompting more. But this is an advanced structure that is using JSON, which is easily understood by LLMs and easily understood by AI models. So this helps you to essentially structure your prompt in such a way, just like a timeline prompt or just like that advanced timeline prompt that I shared with you, to add in all kind of different details and to separate each and all of them so it's easy to read for the AI and easy to understand. If you are still confused where to get started, try all 4 of them. I've provided a MD file for each of them that you can use. You can put that into ChatGPT or Claude and it will help you write a prompt based on your idea/concept. Mistake number 4 that I see a lot of people making, which to be honest pisses me off, is using the wrong model. Every experienced creator right now knows what model is best for what. That is maybe also why you watch my videos. That's why you watch other people about this topic. You want to understand what a model like Kling is good for. You want to understand what CNET is good for. You want to understand what the newest Google model is good for. If you don't know that, you might be using the wrong model because, for example, if you're making an action scene and you're using something like VO 3.1, currently it's outdated and a model like Seedance is better. But for some generations, a model like Kling might be better than Seedance at other parts. To give you a better understanding which tool you should use, I've put together this test where you can go through it yourself. It is a test where I compare realism, action, dialogue, emotion, cinematics, and text on screen. I've put in the prompt so you can go through it yourself at your own pace and you can compare which one you think looks best. In my opinion, for most of these things, you want to be using Seedance or Kling. VO is kind of outdated right now, but is yet to be replaced soon. So that's gonna change up the whole test. As soon as this, I will start and update it so you can go through it again and see which one you prefer. Mistake number 5 is that you don't go the extra mile. Most creators are done when their generation is finished. And that is exactly where you can go wrong. The first thing that I would say that you should try out is generating the same clip multiple different times and then cutting out the best bits of each separate clip and then stitching that together. If you, for example, have a timeline and the beginning of your video sucks, you can just trim out that bit, regenerate that, and then stitch it together with the rest of the video and then make it look seamless or have a cut in there, it doesn't matter. I just use that technique a lot of times. The second suggestion I want to give you is make cuts. Don't just generate like 5-second shots, 10-second shots and just place them together like that. You want to add cuts in there. You want to trim off the bad pieces. You want to be more in control about what you're showing on the screen. Then we have sound design. Don't trust the AI to generate the AI sounds for you that come with the clip. Generate them yourself separately using other AI tools or use stock stock library AI sounds. Lastly, a super powerful but very time-consuming thing that you can do is upscaling your video. You can do this through Higgsfield itself, through Topaz Labs, and it is helping you to add in some grain, to add in some texture, but it will also upscale the quality of your video. You want to be careful with it though, because sometimes it's a bit too much. So if you go over your own process right now and think about all the mistakes that I've named in this video, you can analyze and see where it went wrong, and you can try implementing the fixes that I gave you in this video. If you need more info, I will have all of the MD files, all of the prompting structures, and more in-depth guide in my free school community, which you can join at any time. You can leave at any time. I'm just trying to build a place where you can hang out and ask your questions, be seen, and communicate with other AI enthusiasts. Also, make sure to check out Higgsfield, and if you want to see more interesting videos, then click the video that's on the screen right now where I show you how you can master Seedance.